I'm really excited about this one. People have been buzzing lately in the forums about laps. Let's talk about laps today. Let's talk about centered laps. This isn't a training video. This isn't a comparison video. This is an announcement video. We have laps. I've been using these laps for about 4 years. Actually, specifically this lap. This is my main 600 grit cutting lap. I've been using it for everything, on everything. It's awesome. I bought it a while ago, can't buy it anymore. And ladies and gentlemen, we have centered laps. You thought I was just a gem cutter. I sell laps now. These are coming back into production. If you have been thinking about upgrading to a centered lap, today might be the day for you. We are presenting these in 3 grits in 2 sizes, so pretty much whatever you need is going to be here for preforming, cutting, and fine cutting. 6 inches or 8 inches, they're all on our website. These are diamond centered copper on aluminum, and they are very budget friendly. I wanted to make sure. I knew that this one was good. I love this lap. It's been awesome for me. I didn't know if these new ones were exactly the same. They're made by the same factory, Eastern Europe. Is it the same? They look the same, but how do we know? So I got some to try. As you can see, I've got 3 here. A preforming lap, a cutting lap, and a fine cutting lap. And I took them through their paces. I cut a spinel. I'm going to show you guys all the steps that I did. So I did everything on centered laps. I've never actually done that before. Preforming by hand on the roughest centered lap, cutting in my girdle outline and my main facets for like a square emerald cut, and then fine cutting in on the 1200 grit, and then going into my polishing steps. So let's check out what that looks like. So we've got hand preforming. So here you can see I'm hand shaping the stone just to get off the rough surface, to get it into a usable shape. It was already kind of squarish. I'm just kind of evening it out before I dop the stone. So here you can see this is what the texture looks like after the 100 grit. So this is 28 to 40 mesh, which equals 100 grit in US standards. Now, I know what you're thinking, 100 grit, this is way too rough. This is going to destroy, subsurface damage, shock, etc. But actually it's pretty reasonable. It feels more like a 360, which is the normal type of plated lap that I would use for preforming. Really smooth, really fast cutting, not too aggressive, really surprisingly pleasant actually. And you can see the texture. What does the surface of the preform texture look like on the stone? So once I got the stone dopped up and I wanted to cut in my outline shape and start to cut in my first facets. So I go through, I do the whole girdle outline, even everything out, cut in my first row of facets, make sure everything's nice and straight, even for my square emerald cut. We can see here what the texture looks like on 600. Now, traditionally, in my workshop, 600 is my last cutting step. I don't have a 1200 centered lap, so I just skip that step, and I'd always just go to my 3000 or 8000 pre-polishing lap, which is a dominatrix. You can definitely do that. For some stones, it's totally fine to jump from the 600 centered straight into pre-polish with no problems with subsurface damage or pitting or anything like that. With other stones though, I did know this already, going from the 600 to the pre-polish, it makes a nice smooth surface, but sometimes there's little dots, and I found this in probably harder stones like corundum in certain directions. I wanted to take the spinel through the 1200 grit as well, just to see what that was like. Next step, I recut all the facets on 1200 grit, including the girdle outline facets for the square emerald cut, and you can see here this is what that texture looks like on the 1200 grit. It's not extremely different than the 600. I like having this in my arsenal now because for those types of stones where I know that they're gonna pit a little bit or have little dots in the surface when I start to do my pre-polishing, I will take those and do all 3. But you can see all the crown facets in the table are cut on 1200, and then I go into the polishing steps. So we can just see how easy it was. And really, it was really fast. My pre-polishing and polishing on the dominatrix, Probably took about 5 to 10 seconds per facet, depending on if I'm on one of the bigger facets or one of the smaller facets. You can see the quality of the polish on the crown after I finished a few facets and then eventually the whole stone. But really the difference is, if I had been using plated laps before, the plated laps tend to be less consistent. They have less of a nice surface texture on the stone for each facet. And of course these ones are going to last a lot longer. I shot all these videos of the texture of the laps before I ever use them, so you can kind of get an idea about what they're going to look like when you get them out of the box. So these are brand new, never been touched. It's recommended that you break them in with the oxide stick or the carbide stick and then take them to the first stone. These are going to come with their own oxide sticks, so you can just break them in a little bit with the stick. So we can see there's going to be 6-inch sizes, there's going to be 8-inch sizes. They're both pretty much the same. The amount of sintered diamond should be the same. This one looks a little bit thinner because I've been using it for 4 years, but they have quite a bit of sintered material on top of the aluminum. These are lightweight. These are aluminum based, not the traditional steel base, so you don't have to worry about rusting. We don't have to worry about them being super heavy and trying to put them onto the machine. And they end up just being kind of more pleasant to use, in my experience, at least in my opinion. Feel free to send me some messages or leave me some comments if you've got questions. We're going to be using these laps as well in all of our upcoming faceting apprenticeship distance learning videos. So if you're thinking about doing any of the upcoming courses, this is going to work perfectly with what you're going to see me doing in those videos. I hope you guys are excited as I am about these sintered laps. I've been playing with them all week, and I am excited to bring them to you so you can play with them all life, because one of these is probably going to last you forever. Thank you guys so much. This has been Justin K. Prim out here in Bangkok with a sintered lap announcement, and I'll check you guys next time.